I am with Jo Ann Herold, who is the Chief Marketing Officer of Honey Baked Ham. Thank you so much for being with me, Jo Ann.
Oh, thank you, Joe. It's awesome to be with you.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit. I know you have a fairly unique career path that brought you back to Honey Baked Ham after an 8-year hiatus. So tell us about your career path that led you to what you're doing today, and tell us a little bit about Honey Baked Ham as well.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Well, my career path started really when I was a star at McDonald's. And what that meant was I was a store area representative. What that meant was I gave the birthday parties and wore the hamburger costume and passed out chicken nuggets at the drive-through window. So that's really where it all started. And
That's where your stardom began.
if you will. But I loved working for iconic brands and being a part of the community and being a part of making people's lives a little bit happier. And so from there, studied journalism and PR and got my first job in the food industry, working for Shoney's and Captain D's. And I was recruited to work at Honey Baked Ham because the recruiter who was working on hiring the role liked Captain D's, and so called me, and I ended up working at Honey Baked for 16 years, and started as a marketing manager, and then ultimately grew into the CMO role. But I left and consulted, and then I went to Arby's Restaurant Group, and then was recruited to be the CMO at Interface, and then was traveling a lot and needed to be at home, and Honey Baked called and got the opportunity to go back to Honey Baked after 8 years.
So I'm curious, now that you're wiser than you were in your first stint at Honey Baked Ham, ultimately a CMO, how different is it for you now than your first go round there?
Well, I got the great experiences of working at Arby's and got to really understand product development and a lot more in the media world. And everything as far as digital and social has changed so much, in the landscape over the 8 years. So now we're heavily reliant on digital marketing and direct to consumer, and making things a whole lot more convenient for the consumer.
Yeah,
So that's definitely changed.
So not only have you changed, but the world has changed a lot all of the time.
Well, it's interesting. I think the whole consumer landscape has changed more in the last year than it's probably changed in my whole career.
Yeah, well, so what's something that you what's an example of something that you learned or that's changed significantly that maybe you've had to change about yourself given the change in like the shift to digital, for example?
I think being agile and kind of throwing a bit of the marketing process out the window and just being very resourceful as far as making it easy again for the consumer to shop. So with when the pandemic hit, we knew consumers didn't want to necessarily shop in a store, even though our stores were super safe. And so we implemented curbside, BOPUS.
BOPUS, buy online, pick up in store.
Yes, yeah, all within a matter of weeks, where that could have taken us 3 years. We did it in 3 weeks.
Wow. I had an SVP of marketing for a big international company tell me my IT department was trying to get us all on Microsoft Teams for years. And then COVID happened, and it happened within like a month.
Exactly. We had just gotten onto Teams, fortunately. And so we were actually when
you already knew how to log on and use it.
Exactly.
Right. So my question is, what advice do you wish you had gotten early in your career, or would you give somebody that's maybe relatively young in their career and kind of starting out?
So I think it's super important for marketers to understand the financials, know the business, and um, fortunately, I got had some great mentors that helped in that area. I'd say also be bold, be a badass, and
Mhm.
do things, be brave about it, and not shy or intimidated, and make a difference and show results.
Hmm. Those are that's a lot to unpack in that very short sentence. I mean, but it's good. It's good. So, what would you say is your superpower?
Oh God, great question.
Thanks.
Probably coaching, but doing so with kindness
Mm.
and leading with love, and um, just making sure that I'm growing the next generation.
Hmm. You mentioned leading with love, and I know that you have a very strong perspective on your kind of personal mission. So, do
hmm
you mind just kind of sharing what your personal mission is and how why that's important to you?
Well, I lead with love, and what that means, it means how I lead my life, how I coach, how I show up, how I lead a team. But it's also important to balance it with the people I love. So the posse. So I'm super focused on leading a big life, and what that means is traveling, having fun, doing great career work, but doing it with the folks and friends that I enjoy.
I love that. I love that. Well, I always loved and appreciated about you that you have been very intentional and put thought into that and thinking through what does Jo Ann Herold stand for and what is your North Star, if you will. And I love that. I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. So you've been now back at Honey Baked Ham for 4 years or so. And I'm curious, other than the global pandemic, which obviously changed everything there, what's been another large challenge that you've faced this second time around at Honey Baked?
I think it kind of harkens back to what we just talked about. Consumers are changing
Mm.
their expectations so rapidly, and it's just making sure that we're nimble enough to execute against their desires, and so that's been a lot of fun, but
Mhm.
a great challenge.
So, in terms of keeping the role interesting, I guess you talked about some of the things that are keeping it interesting for you, but I'm wondering if what you're most excited about in terms of the even either during the pandemic, which is still happening, and post pandemic, what are you most excited about?
The Honey Baked has been through a big brand transformation. We updated our logo and our look and feel, and now we're rolling that out to our stores. So that's been a lot of fun to
Hmm.
see our stores transform. We're doing a lot of work on our menu, so lots of great new products coming out, and then a lot of work in the omni space. So again, making it easier for consumers to shop with us how they want to shop, and whether it's curbside, BOPUS, or delivery, we've got them covered, or having them come into our awesome stores and having that experience.
I had a really great conversation with Angela Johnson, who's the head of marketing at Crystal, and
Mhm.
she talked about how very involved she is with the product development in terms of menu and things like that. I'm wondering, do, do you get involved in menu development and
Oh
product? And
yes, yes,
so tell
yes.
us about that. How involved do you get, and what does that look like, and how do you not gain 1 million pounds if you get to test all
It's hard not to.
the
It's so good. I mean, we look at trends. We look at what consumers like. We look at also, it's a kind of a multifaceted approach. Also work very closely with our supply chain team on, how do we get product.
Mhm.
We've got we've got a chef who helps with the inspiration and cooking the food, and then we run it past consumers and get their input on it, and then we do a lot of tastings, and I try not to.
Eat it all, just taste it, take a bite.
It's always fun when we do sandwiches, and there's 8 sandwiches, and I have to remind myself to go slow.
I love it. I love it. So where do you find, or your team find inspiration?
We read every food blog, every cookbook, every magazine. We get ideas from our customers. We get ideas from our franchisees, our store teams, our suppliers bring us ideas.
Mhm.
We've worked with culinary experts out in California, Matson being one in particular, who's probably the best at culinary development in
Hmm.
the world.
Wow.
And we'll brief them, get ideas. And so we're always looking at new ideas, restaurants.
Before I forget, tell us a little bit about the footprint for Honey Baked Ham, because I forgot to, and also talk about the different channels. So I know like e-commerce is something you didn't initially, when you launched e-commerce, it was obviously new for you, but it's become a pretty important part of the business. So can you talk about the channels and where you're located?
Yeah, we have about a little over 400 stores. Half are company owned, half are franchise owned, really mostly all over the US.
Mhm.
Um, so that's a big part of our business and how we started. Actually, the brand started a little over 60 years ago with one store right outside of Detroit, Michigan, still family owned.
Hmm.
Then the D2C, direct to consumer, formerly known as e-com, formerly known as mail order, started because our consumers wanted to gift the
Mm.
honey baked product. And if they weren't able to be at the celebration, they wanted to make sure they were a part of it. So that's how it started. And then it's just become a bigger part of our footprint. So a consumer can go onto our website and order product, and it's shipped directly to their home or to their recipient's home.
Yeah, I've been the recipient of a Honey Baked Ham product, and it's awesome. It's a great product and delicious, and we definitely enjoyed it. And also, I'll say too that the experience of receiving it is fun. Like it's, when somebody ships you a Honey Baked Ham product, it's cool because the unboxing is almost as much fun as the opportunity to eat it.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Yeah, I think it's the anticipation too as well. So you talked a little bit about mentorship and mentoring your team. So I'm just curious, how you go about, finding the time, and also what your philosophy. You talked about leading with love, but how does that translate into helping a younger in their career person grow?
So it's first off making the time. So we, as a team, we spend a lot of time together. Now with everybody on Zoom, we're on a lot of Teams calls or Zoom calls. It's making sure that they understand the strategy and the why and where we're going and what we're trying to do, and then also their role in how to drive us to success. And then if there's areas where they need help, one thing that I always ask on our team calls is, does anyone need help? Do you need help from anybody on the team? Do you need help from me? Any roadblocks, anything any barriers that,
Mm.
and so, and sometimes it's, nope, we're all good. And then at other times it's, hey, I need, XYZ, and, we can kind of help them right there on the spot.
It's great.
So, trying to be very collaborative, very communicative.
Yeah. It's harder when everything is remote, but so we have to be much more intentional about that communication, I think, when you can't just swing by somebody's office and ask a quick question.
Exactly. Yeah,
So,
sometimes it's just calling and checking on them. How, hey, I haven't talked to you in a while. How are things? And, I'll get to chat with them one on one, and especially some that I don't get to talk to as often.
I love it. So I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about agencies, because at Setup we're marketing matchmakers, and often we connect brands and agencies together. So how do you work with marketing agencies today? Are there certain things that you always want to keep in-house as capabilities, and certain things you always want to lean on agencies, or just generally how you work with marketing agencies?
We have some great agency partners. We work with BBDO Atlanta and Edelman and Resolution, who's our media partners. And for us, agency partners helps us think outside the box. They have an expertise that we don't have in-house. So whether it's creative or PR or media buying, we'll use them for their expertise. We ask for their ideas. We ask them to push us and push the boundaries, and
Mhm.
also to really, in a way, understand our business better than we do from a consumer
Mm.
perspective, because we get so caught up in meetings and budgets, and so it's thinking about things from a different perspective.
For sure. It definitely gives you the outside perspective, but also hopefully the finger on the pulse of the consumer and the consumer behavior. So, how do you go about choosing new agency partners? Are there certain traits that are super important to you when you're thinking about, hiring an agency?
hmm Yeah, definitely. It's some of it's past performance and who they've worked with
Mhm.
and the case studies. The other is, how excited are they about our business? Have they done their homework? Have they engaged in the brand? Have they checked out our website and bought the product? Um, then it's chemistry. It's who's working on the team. Uh, will will these people who we're talking to in the pitch be involved in the day to day?
Uh-huh. So you've seen a bait and switch before where an agency pitched certain people and then you never see them again, or?
Yeah, that happened. That did happen to me once.
Yeah. And not again, because you made sure that it wouldn't happen again.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
And the other piece is just, how do you evaluate your agencies on an ongoing basis to make sure that you're still feeling the love as they work with you?
Constant communication, and it's when I don't generally wait to give them an evaluation. It's more, we're super engaged, and if we like an idea, we're all in. If we need to move on, we move on from an idea. But it's really constant communication. We also keep them very informed on our business results and how we're doing, so that they have skin in the game, and they're a
Mhm.
part of driving our success and results.
Well, that's a perfect segue, because I wanted to ask you a couple questions about results. How, knowing that the entire organization is not focused necessarily on marketing, how do you, as the leader of marketing, show the value of marketing to those that maybe aren't marketers by trade?
So, a couple ways. Obviously, our top line sales results,
Right.
and then our EBITDA performance. And then we measure our media spend and how much we generate. So we look at the return on spend, and we look at that after every campaign, and we figure out where we might need to move money if we need to, so that we're continuing to get a good ROI. And then the marketing team looks at a lot of metrics that I don't necessarily share
Mm.
outside our group, but it's, it's on the website, it's traffic and conversions and average ticket, and
And on
so we're
social, it might be engagement or
mhm,
something like that. Yeah.
exactly.
Great. Is there a specific campaign or program either that's happening now or that happened in the past that you're super proud of?
I'm super proud of the one we actually launched at Holiday and we're continuing with. Is user generated content from our customers. So it's very authentic, it's very honey baked. And we've leveraged that from a national television campaign down to our digital content. So super proud of that.
Hmm. Cool. So is there another campaign that you've done that maybe taught you a lot because it didn't do so well, or maybe or maybe it did really well and you tried to replicate it and it wasn't possible because you caught lightning in a bottle or something?
Oh, one that was the most impactful was when I went back to Honey Baked. The brand was off TV, doing a lot of couponing and discounting.
Mm, mhm,
And because
mhm.
of our franchisees really wanted the brand to be a little more sexy, a little more bold, and they actually helped fund the first national television campaign in 10 years. And it was a big success. It was a
Mhm,
lot of hard work in a
mhm.
short period of time, but I really commend our franchise partners for,
That was the Kelly Baked Ham
yeah,
campaign. I
exactly.
remember it's so good. Yeah, so good. You'll have to, for those of you out there, you have to Google Kelly Baked Ham, and it's it makes honey baked ham a very preferable alternative to doing it yourself.
If you've ever done it yourself, you will know, you can empathize.
Absolutely. Okay, so I have a couple of fun questions for you to wrap this up.
Oh,
My first one is there a quote or a book or a movie or a band that really inspires you? It could be any of those.
the Beatles.
Really? And
I
so do you
love,
listen to them often?
yes. And part of my job has always been leading conferences or meetings, and there is never a meeting where I don't play the Beatles.
Oh,
My
that's great.
favorite, my favorite song is The End, and it was the last song that the Beatles performed together.
Wow.
And there's a line in it. I hope I get it right. I probably won't, but the love you make is the wait, let me make anyway, I'll find it. But
Yeah,
it really is about the energy you put out is the energy you get back. And
love
so
it.
that's
We'll include it in the show notes, which will be, yeah, that's perfect. Um, so where do you find joy outside of work?
with friends, traveling,
All the
volunteering.
things we can't do.
Exactly, yes. Volunteering. I'm on the board of Covenant House, and so doing good work in the community. And then exercise and
Okay, what's a brand that you haven't ever worked on that you really admire, and why do you admire that brand?
so I love Delta.
Mm,
I have been so impressed with how they've handled the pandemic, and Ed Bastian, I think, is an amazing CEO, and I can't wait to travel again
mhm.
before pre-pandemic, and I guess I still am. I'm a million miler,
Wow.
so love to travel, miss it. Um, I have always had great experiences with Delta.
I love their message throughout the pandemic is when you're ready to fly, we're ready for you,
Hmm.
which is a great message, is saying we're not forcing anybody, we're not forcing the issue, but if when you're ready, we're ready. And I think
Hmm.
that's the right message. It's a good message.
Yeah.
All right, I have one more fun question for you, which is a silly one. Is there a fictional realm or world or story that you would like to live in? Like I'm a little bit of a Star Wars buff, and I think it would be fun to live in Star Wars times, in a galaxy far, far away. So I'm wondering if there's a realm or world that would be fun for
Oh,
you.
that's fun. That is a fun question. So I just finished Bridgerton.
Oh, right, the TV, the Netflix series, right?
Mhm. So I wanna be a part of that.
So is it Victorian times, I guess?
Yes, and all the parties and the
What did I say? It's fancy Downton. It's Downton Abbey. It's like the new Downton Abbey, but modernized, like modernized Downton Abbey, maybe. I don't know.
yes. I think I read that it's the most watched Netflix show.
Wow. I I I I I believe it. We watched The Queen's Gambit, and I think that what broke all the records, and then I think Bridgerton maybe broke the records for Queen's Gambit.
Yes. It
Anyway, anything else you want to add?
Well, Joe, thank you. You are such a bright light and somebody I just admire greatly and just love being a part of this.
Thank you. It's mutual because I adore you and all that you stand for, and I really appreciate you. So thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.